Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my little parts bench here. What I've got on the table today is my Lionel 2055. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be replacing the old pellet smoke unit with this new liquid conversion kit, which just came in from Trains in the Attic. I'd like to thank those guys for sending a couple of those through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disassemble the 2055, take that old unit out, swap in the new one. Okay, so I got the shell off. It's got 2 screws at the back, and it has 2 screws at the front, and then the shell will just lift off. And then, of course, you have to kind of wiggle the rear bar out from that little slot there, and out she comes. So I've got myself quite a bit of extra wire already, which is a good thing, because the new smoke unit's element right there will actually tie in to the existing wire that's already here. So right now I'm going to get onto taking off this old cover. So we're just going to pop this out. Just get a little flathead screwdriver in there and give it a light little push. Out it comes. There's the original unit. And there's all of the little insulator or whatever that thing is. So we're just going to scoop that out of there. There we go. And any of this stuff that's left in from the old pellets, we're just going to knock it out to make sure it's all completely clean. As you can see, the air hole is just a little bit plugged. But I'll just stick like a paper clip in there or a finishing nail or something and just lightly kind of poke it all out and get it out of there. Alright, so we got that off. I've unclipped the old heater element thing, whatever you want to call it, off. I took the old insulator out, and there is the old metal cap. So all of that is done, and it's this, you don't need the metal cap anymore, especially according to the instructions that come with the new smoke unit, which is, these are all of its parts right here. So what I am supposed to do next is to slide the improved white higher heat resistant fiber wick over the resistor. So we're going to do that now. So there we go. I've got the wick on there now. And next it says to put the shrink tube over one lead and heat shrink closed to the resistor body. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so I've put the heat shrink tubing on the end close to the resistor there. And we are now going to move to the next step, which tells us to carefully bend both leads close to the resistor body, insert the leads through the holes in the black cap, and the insulated lead goes through the larger hole. So we're going to set that up now. So as you can see, there are clearly 2 different sized holes into the plastic cap. This larger is the one that they're talking about where the insulated wire goes through. This will be the bare end, which will ultimately go to a ground on the chassis of the locomotive. So we're going to go ahead and set all that up right now. So there we go. We've got the resistor into the plastic cap as instructed, and the appropriate wires going through the appropriate holes. So now we're going to move on to the next step, which says put a new fiberglass liner. Choose your choice of liner in the smoke pot. So we've got, I know this is the one that actually goes to the body of the locomotive outside. So we've got 1 or 2. That one's kind of cool. So let's see. I don't know. Maybe I'll go with the yellow Pac-Man one. We'll have a... Okay, so after looking at the instructions again, it's actually suggesting that I put this wadding on top of the fiberglass piece here, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. There we go, set that up. And then I will be replacing the cap onto here with the resistor wires outside, and I think the next step is going to be hooking it up to the hot wire here. Alright, so let's just get all that set up. Okay, I have my smoke cap in place with the two wires ready to be connected. And the one thing the instructions make sure to say to do is to, if you can see inside there, you want the resistor not to be blocking the little air hole that the plunger will be sending air up through. So one little bad on my part here is I forgot to cut off the excess insulation off of the wire coming off of the resistor so that I could actually connect these two together. So what I'm going to go ahead now is I am going to solder these two together. So what I'm in fact going to do is I'm going to kind of make a hook, like a little J hook onto the engine's power supply, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, hook them together, and then solder them. Okay, so I got my two wires as their little shepherd's hooks. I can now just hook them together like that, and I will place a drop of solder on there to hold them nice and tight together. Okay, so as you can see, I got my little connection soldered up rather. So I'm just going to slide the new heat tubing over this and get my trusty lighter and shrink that down and wrap that end of it up. Okay, so we got the shrink wrapping on. Now I've come to the point where I need to connect the ground. And I might have to do a little bit of fabricating here, because on my 681, what they've used for the ground is there is a screw up front that actually holds the whole smoke mechanism, and they've brought this around and attached it to that. Now this one, I can almost get it to that body screw, but it falls just a little bit short. So I'm going to see if I got something that can actually connect it. Okay, I think I found a solution to my little grounding extension problem. Luckily, I've got a box full of old Lionel parts. A lot of them are kind of beat up and not working much anymore. And I found this particular one. I think it's actually from a diesel. That's a motor from a diesel. But I am going to drill out this rivet and get this little grounding tab off. And I am going to attach that to the one end of my ground here, and then drop the screw through the rivet hole that this has, and I think I should have a perfect little connector to finish off this job. Alright, so we've got that drilled out. It took a drill and a little bit of coaxing to get this little outer ring part to let go, but I'm going to unsolder that from this connection and reapply it onto our ground and connect it to that screw. Alright, so we got it all buttoned up now. You can see I got that terminal put onto that body screw. I've got the ground connected, going right to it, so that should work. Now I noticed as I bent the wire down, the insulation came off just a little bit from the resistor inside. My 681 has the same thing. Since this is a plastic cap, I wouldn't worry about it all too much. I just want to make sure I got all these wires clear so when I put the body on, nothing gets pinched or pulled or any of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think we're ready to give it a test now. Alright, I got my test track set up, hooked up to my trusty ancient Marx transformer, and we're going to put some power to this and see if I hooked up the smoke unit properly and got everything running again. So we're in neutral, and just get the fluid here. This is what I use, this Bachmann smoke fluid. I think it works really well. Put a drop in there. So as you can see, we got 2055 back on the track. And we got a puffing smokestack now. So I'd like to thank the Terrain Addict for those parts and the great instructions and helping me bring my 2055 back to full operating condition. I hope you guys enjoyed this and find it helpful, and I'll see you on the next video.